So as you can see, this stuff has been rearranged. We decided to put the fridge on this side, battery on this side because of water connections. So we added this water connection box over here. You can see we've mounted the roto packs on the outside. We have the 2 bars across the top for the rooftop tent. We added this guy here. It has a vent, it has a pressure fitting, and a low pressure fill. So when I show you the video of the tanks on the bottom, you'll be able to see where those are connected. Just a little plastic box that locks nice and secure there. So we did flip these around to have everything kind of close to that side. Normally trailers have the utilities on the left-hand side, so that's why we kept that there. We also added some lights up along the back, and I'm going to turn these on so you can see here. So we just added a strip of LEDs across the top here. Ultimately, there will be a plywood wall here, so it will just really illuminate this work area here. But you can see the stuff I did have in a previous video mounted up there. Because we decided to put the battery in the back, we have the high power things back here, we just decided to move everything back here. So by putting the solar controller back here, put the fuse panel right next to it. We did keep all the grounds isolated for this system. Strapped down the battery here, we mounted the pump right to the wall. So kind of our wiring is just all really easy right here. On the Stomatic fridge, I did add this pigtail. Much more secure connection than the little 12 volt cigarette lighter style power outlet. But everything's nice and tidy here. So you'll see we're going to put a countertop on here. Again, a wall here. The fridge will be on a slide out, so it will slide out to the side. And here will be the sink with probably a couple drawers and then the ability to drain that out and back to the gray tank. So we did get a lot of insulation on here. Started to put some of the plywood panels back in here. So tomorrow's just kind of the last day to button some stuff up. Hopefully the door comes in tomorrow morning. If not, Chris, you're gonna be on your own to put that door in. So here's a look at the bottom of the trailer. You can see the hitch that we added in the back. Again, not for pulling another trailer, but just for bike rack, etc. I did decide to add some cross members out to the frame because these members out here were much stronger than the main portions of the frame. So you can see everything there. We've got 2 13-gallon water tanks that you can see strapped in there. We've run some of the hoses and plumbing to there. So the front one there is for fresh water. This back one, the gray water for the time being. You'll see the big hole up there is where we'll plumb the sink drain into. We've blocked that one off. This hose will be for a vent, and this will be the dump valve for right now for that gray tank. It's not very elegant of a situation, but it allows us to dump that gray water where we want it. My wife thought it would be a good idea if I explain the solar a little bit and take some of the mystery out of it because it's really quite simple. So there's really 3 components to the solar setup: solar controller, the battery, and the solar panel. Very simple. We're using a 100-watt solar panel up here. 2 wires coming down. They're labeled positive and negative. Very hard to mess up. The solar panel creates electricity. The battery has electricity. So anytime there's electricity coming from somewhere, we want to make sure we have a fuse in line there to protect it. So you can see I've spliced this fuse in here. I'm using a 15 amp fuse right here. I think that should be fine, but we can always go up. We're also using 10 gauge wire, so it's very heavy duty wire. The wires run along here, back down along. I like to run my wires in this Tech Flex. I forget the exact name of it, but thanks to my buddy Jay for turning me onto this stuff. It goes on pretty easy. It just gives the wires a little extra abrasion protection. So those wires come down here. Here's the wires you can see on the battery, and of course another fuse right next to the battery. So if anything goes wrong, something would have to short out the wire between there and there to have a problem. Very low likelihood. So this is very simple and easy, the 3 connections here. The first one is the battery. These 2 wires come down out of here and connect to the positive and negative of the battery. Very straightforward. The next 2 come up from the solar panel, which is PV or photovoltaic. Plus and minus, go from there straight up to the PV. These two go to the load. So in this circumstance, you'll see these wires coming over and going to our positive and negative on our fuse block. I love this Blue Sea Systems fuse block because it has 6 circuits. So we pop from the positive feed, we're going to power all 6 of these, but it also has a negative feed to be a ground point for the 6 individual ground circuits as well. When I run to this slot, the lower right, I'll run the negative to the lower right here. So all of these are paired up. So if I ever have a problem, it makes it much easier to chase. The one thing we do not run through this fuse block or through the solar controller is the pump. Because the pump being a motor load, when it starts up, it creates a lot of draw, and then it will actually overload the solar controller, and the solar controller will dip out for a second and then come back on. But ultimately the pump will not work. So once we put a switch in, the pump will go directly to the positive terminal. What's really nice, and I'll put a screenshot in here to show this Victron solar controller charge screen. From any Bluetooth device, we can monitor voltage in, voltage out, history, all kinds of different things. Because this is an MPPT controller, it's using every bit of voltage. So this is a 7510, which is their smallest controller. It's using all the voltage. So if our solar panel is making 19 volts, it's reducing that down to 14.2 or wherever we have our charge voltage set, and increasing the amperage. Why that is important is because unless we are a little bit above the voltage on the battery, about 1/2 volt most of the time, it will not charge the battery if we're below that. So on a cloudy day, if we're only making 13 volts with our solar panel and we had a different style solar controller, we're not going to be able to charge our battery at all. Because we have 19 volts coming in from the solar panel at a lower amperage, it boosts the amperage up at a lower voltage. We're much more likely to still be able to charge even on a cloudy day. So this is another reason with the Bluetooth and all these other features. You can see the blue light blinking here. This thing draws virtually no electricity. I mean, obviously it draws a little bit, but very, very little. So hopefully that just kind of demystifies the solar a little bit. Again, the lithium iron phosphate battery is really fantastic. Obviously, if you have any questions about that and this information on the internet doesn't make sense, just drop me a line. Be happy to help you out. That's where we are.
We love to make things, yes we really do. Let's make some stuff together you can join in too. Plumbing, screwing, fabrication, here